Hello, my name's Caroline and I'm the Creative Learning Director here at Derby Theatre. And I'm delighted to be joined by Ibraheem Toure. Welcome, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit just about yourself, first of all, and what you're doing with us on this production of Mice and Men?
For this production, I'm working as a creative associate and a dramaturg, which means that I'm looking at the text and how we can activate it in the space. But I'm also looking at how we can bring it into learning environments and how we can really unpack the sensitive language that can be found within Of Mice and Men and how we can just explore it and discover it together in a room. So, Of Mice and Men was written in 1937, so we know that there's going to be language that might be outdated, that might be harmful, that is abusive and racist within the text. So it's about how we can create a space where we can play that text, we can do it safely, but also how we can still bring in the strong themes of the play without eradicating or sanitizing what is happening to the characters in the space.
Obviously, Of Mice and Men was written in the 1930s, the play and the book. Can you tell me a little bit about the context of Mice and Men? What was happening then?
Yeah, so for me, Of Mice and Men is written at a time where there's a change in economic status in America. We are moving away from a feudal system, a very agricultural system, and we're moving towards this capitalist era where people can see the American dream manifesting, not just for people at the top, for everybody, including the working class. So this play is a meeting point of intersectionality within society. It's black people meeting white workers, it is queer people meeting straight people within a space and navigating their space. It is learning disabled people working within an environment where they also want to achieve their dream and the connections and relationships between those people.
Okay, brilliant. So obviously when Steinbeck wrote it, that was the context within which he was living. What are the themes that he addresses within the script?
Well, he's addressing within the script that the big thing is the American dream, right? And how we all want to attain the American dream. The American dream is promised to everybody, but there are some people who believe they are not entitled to that dream. And what he's talking about is how can we manifest that dream when we become part of the dream? How do we even go forward and attain it? And he's also talking about the barriers, the societal barriers to attaining that dream. So if we take the character of Crooks, he's really being, he's got the obstacle of being black, he's got the obstacle of being discriminated against, he's got the obstacle of navigating racism, and therefore he's being treated worse than all the other white male workers on the farm. And then we've also got this interesting narrative of isolation, of everybody trying to navigate what it feels like to be lonely, even though they're all working together. Everybody is then there, you know, Candy, for example, is excluded from going out with the boys. And why is that? As a disabled man, is he excluded from going out? And I think that this is where, when we bring it into a modern context to modern audiences, we are living in a world just after COVID. We're living in a world of extreme isolation and loneliness, and people are still feeling that. The aftermath of that. We've got young people who don't know how to communicate with the people around them. They don't know how to communicate with adults. They don't know how to communicate with their peers because they feel isolated. So this play is very relevant to today. You know, everyone's trying to achieve their dream. Everyone's trying to be successful within a system that's set up, unfortunately, to keep you at the bottom, especially for working class people.
What do you think Steinbeck felt about the American dream? Did he believe in that to any extent whatsoever, or was he just like, this is not real, folks?
You know, I think that for Steinbeck as a writer, he's a creative, so he's looking at it. You know, this play was also titled Something That Happened, right? So he's really taking quite a non-judgmental view in this text. I think he's saying this is just what happened. This is just what happens when you promise to people they can get something, but actually there are entrenched social barriers, and these are unfair, it's unjust. I don't know if he opposed the American dream, because the American dream is about freedom, it's about rights, it's about civil liberty, it's about being able to work from the bottom and go all the way to wherever you want to land. You can do it with the systems that we have in place. So I don't know if he was opposing that, but I definitely know that he is opposing the antithesis between your dream and where you are in society and who you are in society, and those things trumping the fact that you're just a person trying to attain.
Recognising those barriers.
Yeah.
And what about the identity politics and kind of that feels like it's infused throughout? And I know Sarah, as the director, was really interested in this being a story for today because of what you've talked about with isolation, but because of that sense of identity politics and playing people off and the person at the top having that kind of puppeteer role to an extent, maybe. I don't know.
I think identity politics is really interesting because politics is about people, and politics at its core is about how people interact with other people. You know, it's the rules of how I talk to you and how you talk to me, how I govern you, how you govern me. It is basically and fundamentally about people. So it doesn't separate from, I think sometimes we separate identity and politics. It is what, the politics are about the identity of different people because people have identities, right?
Yeah.
So I think within this play, what Steinbeck has done and what Sarah is trying to do with the playing of is she's really going, let's put these people into almost a petri dish. Let's put all these people into an experiment. We put them in the same location, we give them the same dream, or we have to have characters that enable other characters to see themselves within the dream and just see what happens. And then we'll put on top of that the social expectations and norms. We'll put in the norms of not only the wider society, but the rules on this bit of land that are enforced by the boss.
Yeah.
And, you know, and obviously 1937, let's throw a woman in there. you know,
we'll
that's only been in there for 2 weeks, and let's just throw her in and see what happens to the dynamic. And I think it's really interesting that, you know, George says a line where he says, we're just a group of guys trying a thing and you're going to gum up the works. He says that to the woman. And I think that's really interesting as a point to go, as a male writer, where did he put women in this play? And I think that it's really exciting the way that we're playing this production, in that we're giving Curly's wife, which is interesting because she hasn't got a name. You know,
she doesn't
just Curly's wife. She's a title. We're giving her more agency in this production to really go, yes, you could gum up the works, but what about your story? What's going on for you? What's your isolation and separation from the rest of the people? She just wants to talk to people and just be part of the, you know, not part of the fun, but part of society. And she's put into this house, not allowed to move from this house. And I think that's interesting when we're looking at identity politics.
Yeah, thank you. So take me into the rehearsal room now. This has been, you know, a key role that you're playing is in the room. Tell me about the kinds of conversations that you're having with the actors, with Sarah, first and foremost.
So, as I say, my job is really looking at the text and saying, how can we play this text in a safe way? And then going, taking that away from the rehearsal room and saying, how can we recontextualize this for schools, for maybe youth groups, and how can we take the practices of the rehearsal room into the classroom and into teaching practice. And the biggest thing for me is that it's about conversation that leads into action. So it can't just be a conversation that we leave there and then we're done. So a lot of the work that we've been doing in the room is using the original text and saying, okay, this language is here. What does it mean? You know, the N-word is there, it's written. Candy has a speech where he says it 7 times consecutively. Okay, that's there. We then look at what impact does that have to the scene. So you then say, what is the temperature that Steinbeck is trying to attain? What is he trying to get at? Then we look at, when we're playing it, who are we playing it to? We've got young audiences, we've got diverse audiences. So then how can we still get that same temperature but keep those audiences safe? So one of the suggestions that I've made in the room is that we look at different language that might have a similar impact, of course not the same potency, but a similar impact to the scene, to the playing of. So in that conversation, we experiment, and this is the beauty. It's not about a right or wrong answer. And at no point in these conversations are we trying to get to the right answer. We're trying to get to the answer that is appropriate for us. Yeah? And we can then go on to a creative conversation around why it's not appropriate for you, but it's appropriate for our production and what that means in this moment. So we experimented with using the word black. That was the original offer that was put into the room. Let's change the N-word to black. And then bringing it to life, we played with the word black, we used it in the rehearsal space, we rehearsed the scene, and we realized we'd lost the temperature. So we'd gone to almost this language of sanitizing, which I think is important to note. We are not sanitizing this production. We are showing the cruelty of this world. That is point blank. So black feels like a sanitization of that.
Because that's a current acceptable word, so through our current lens.
And to be quite honest, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
He's black.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Whereas what we need to find is language that has judgment attached to it, that has a justification attached to it. We treat him like this, not just because he's a black man, but because he is a coloured, or he's a and this is where we wanted to get to. So my suggestion was that we use the word coloured in the production. And what coloured offers us is that segregation, which is noted in America, but also noted here in Britain.